Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and a very good morning to our international fraternity, those who have joined today with us. On behalf of IP Ethicon and the organizing committee, a very warm welcome to all our distinguished speakers and all the participants. I'm Hitesh Trivedi from IP Ethicon. Civil with us. The floor is all yours. Dr. Civil, please.
Thank you, Hiteshi, for providing this great opportunity to me. Good afternoon to all the attendees, and I am very elated to speak to this distinguished audience today. As most of you are aware, that the traditional patenting system is based on a statutory right, where the patent holder has set amount of time to prevent others from using the patented work or the technology. The SEPs, which are the patents required to implement a particular industry standard, are a step forward in this direction with the purpose to increase consumer advantages while preventing monopolization by patentees to certain extent once the patent is declared standard essential. These standards are nothing more than the technical specifications or standards that aim to establish a standard design for a product or process, lowering the cost of the product to the end user. SEPs are not specially mentioned in the or specifically mentioned in the Indian Patents Act, and no explicit requirements or terms or conditions are included for licensing of SEPs in India in the Indian Patents Act. Still, they have a importance, and India as a jurisdiction should adhere to the global standards to achieve economies of scale. Global standards are some set of technology or processes which are universally accepted and required. They can be understood as a public good because of which the whole society can lead to progress. A piece of tech or process that leads to an overall upgrade in technology is required to reach the whole society at large for it to be relevant and useful. For example, the upgrade from a calling phone to a touch screen smartphone or the 4G technology. For them to be a success, they had to be popularly used, which can be achieved by making the patents of related innovations a global standard. Countries like India, which are at the receiving end, should try to use these global standards to their advantage. Instead of improving semi finished goods and assembling them in India, the manufacturers or producers should directly strike agreements with patent holders. There is definitely a need in India for domestic companies to file for more standards related patents. This is where India probably lacked. India being a hub of startups in India also has proved to have innovative, efficient technology available at cheaper market rates. In India, many educational institutions often foster tech creation and inventions for sustainable development. However, only a few of them are patented, and amongst them, even lesser apply for international patent and global standard authorization. It is pertinent to understand that industrial designs and manufacturing structures give you an edge over others in the market, enhancing your production capacity. Indian domestic companies, by filing for global standard patents, will have enhanced opportunities for commercialization of their IP, increase brand value and recognition, and access to larger international market. I would also like to highlight some issues which are engulfing this landscape of standard essential patents. Many of these issues are off late and very recent. The domain of SEPs is one such area which is currently choked with multiple of such crucial issues, which may not have arisen or rather been easier to tackle had there been some holistic legislative framework or some framed judicial dictats dealing with such operational aspects of standard essential patents. To quote a few out of multiple such issues, anti-suit injunction, Frand licensing, determination of royalty rate, identifying essentiality, etc. are some issues which are not, sold and which I believe every IP practitioner knows about. These issues are in a gray area that is neither completely outside the domain of patent legislations nor completely inside it, which the courts, not only in India but throughout the globe, are finding difficult to deal with. Hence, given birth to enhanced SEP litigations in one or another domain. So these issues probably will be addressed or catered in today's deliberations. I have a firm belief and hope that the galaxy of panelists who have agreed to illuminate the sessions today, they will throw some light on these issues apart from discussing the preliminary aspects of SEP and the jurisprudence on SEP in India and abroad. Well, it is my onerous duty to also tell briefly about the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic at Law Center 2 Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. We started in the year 2018, and this cell or a clinic basically fosters the environment for instilling entrepreneurship in students, the teachings on entrepreneurial laws to the students. This clinic aims to also provide or basically serve the dual purpose of giving law students practical experience of dealing with clients, examining and preparing the contractual documents, patent drafting, trademark registration, copyright registration, and creating awareness about entrepreneurial laws like IP, IT, competition, taxation, etc. This also offers free legal assistance and counseling to startups and budding entrepreneurs by conducting outreach activities in the vicinity through trained paralegal volunteers. The activities of the clinic also include some workshops providing extensive practical hands on training, creating awareness, legal assistance, and conducting pilot studies for government bodies working towards the strengthening of the entrepreneurial regime. With this brief note, I am hopeful that this today's deliberation is going to be very fruitful, and our audience will stand benefited of the presence or from the presence of the multiple stalwarts of the field, specifically of SEP jurisprudence and the litigation. I extend my thanks to IP Thion in my opening remarks, as well as to ICC for collaborating with us and for bearing with us for all the month we have been preparing for this particular conference and event. Thank you so very much. Over to you, Hiteshi.
Thank you, Dr. Civil. Yeah, can we request Mr. Professor Mahavir Singh to join? I think, or may I call Saurabh in that place? Saurabh can give his remarks
You
till
please call
Professor
Saurabh
joins.
first. Sir is facing some difficulty in joining.
Okay. Yeah. So, Mr. Saurabh Sachdeva is the director of IP Ethicon, and he has an extensive experience in the field of finance, banking, and corporate strategy. He's pioneering in distinguishing and in disseminating knowledge and awareness of IPR laws amongst students and professionals. And Mr. Saurabh Sachdeva, I would now welcome you to the floor to give your opening remarks and welcome remarks, please.
Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to all. A very warm welcome to everyone to this important virtual conference on SEP and Frand. As you know, this conference is being organized by IP Ethicon and Education Academy along with Law Center 2, Entrepreneurial Law Clinic, University of Delhi, ELC. Let me take this opportunity to first of all thank Dr. Ashwini Civil, Director Law Center 2, ELC, University of Delhi. He has been truly important for this conference. I'm very thankful to him. We are also thankful to Ms. Kirti Jha, representative, and Mr. Dev Malya Banerjee, Regional Director, Indian Chamber of Commerce, ICC, for joining us as a co-organizer. Let me very quickly introduce about IP Ethicon. We are an IP educational academy that is intensively engaged in IP related activities. We organize several IP related webinars along with many educational institutes or endeavor to sensitize 10 million students by year 2025. Not only we assist innovators in advertising them on IP filings, but also in IPR skill development through the FDP programs, short-term training programs on customized IP topics, assisting people attain professional expertise in IPR. We also administer a countrywide IP Olympiad under the brand of Intellectual Property Talent Search Examination, IPTSC. You are also encouraged to visit our website. Link is being posted on the chat. With that small background about us, let me formally thanks as well Professor Dr. Usha Tandon, Dean and Head, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. Professor Manveer Singh Kalon, Law Center 2, University of Delhi, is a professor in charge there. Thank you so much. And once again, thanks to Dr. Civil. We would also like to thank Honorable Justice Pratibha Maninder Singh, Judge, Delhi High Court, for having kindly accepted our invitation to speak today during the fireside chat. Thank you to all our special speakers and panelists for gracing this webinar with their presence on the theme SEP and Frand licensing. It is known that the most startups operates in the arena of tech. Thus, it is the evident that it requires universal operability. Indian startups having license in the good faith from the SEP owners rightly serve the purpose and help to scale the business globally at a reduced cost. The issue is here to be addressed is the rate at which licenses are granted. As a global practice, these licenses should be obtained on frank terms. Given India's importance as a destination for innovation and investment, it will be a beneficial to see the whole IP ecosystem reinforced by the lowering the filing costs, increasing granting speed, and removing any legislative and administrative obstacles. We are very pleased to witness immense work carried out by the Patent Office and the DPIIT for having undertaken efforts in enhancing the IP environment in India, offering various incentives and promoting greater IP filings at the level has led to the five-fold increase in the IP filings in India. On behalf of the whole team, I would like to offer my best wishes to the conference and thank you all the speakers for joining us today. We immensely congratulate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sachdeva, for your insights and inputs. I would now like to welcome Professor Mahavir Singh Kalon. He is the professor in charge of Law Center 2 and has a vast experience of more than around 2 decades in teaching constitutional law, jurisprudence, and law and society. He has served as chairman Haryana Janhit Congress, and he's a visiting faculty at the Center of Consortium for Educational Programs, subject expert for the selection of the judicial offers at the Bihar Public Service Commission, and these are a few of his notable achievements. May I now please welcome Professor Mahavir Singh Kalon. Sir, please, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. Respected dignitaries, esteemed colleagues, our Honorable Dean and Head Professor Usha Tandon, and beloved students, I welcome all of you on the occasion of this international conference on standard essential patents and Frand licensing. After opening remarks by my young and dynamic colleague, Dr. Aswini Shival, there is very little left to cast a light upon. But being an occupant of this position of professor in charge of Law Center 2, this gives me immense delight, and I would take this opportunity to boast the entrepreneur law colleague of our center and congratulate ELC that have provided for such a platform for discussion on such a topical subject matter. This is just an engraving of another feather in the flock of LC2, an institution which started modestly in 1971 on the grounds of ARSD College in Dholakua to provide a full-time LLB degree to law aspirants. It has 50 years of military personnel, teachers from various departments, chartered accountants, physicians, engineers, and professions. Other professions were among the Law Center 2 graduates. Center has the honor of being led by India's best legal intellectual, such as Professor Upendra Bakshi, a well-known jurist and former Vice Chancellor of Delhi University. Professor Tahir Mahmood, who subsequently became a chairperson, Minority Commission. Professor A.K. Cole, who was elevated as Vice Chancellor, National Law University, Jodhpur, and National Law University, Ranchi. Professor Gurdeep Singh Bharji, who became Vice Chancellor, National Law University, Lucknow. Professor Poonam Saxena, who is presently Vice Chancellor, National Law University, Jodhpur. Professor B.T. Cole, who was the chairperson, Delhi Judicial Academy. Known for its high quality instructions, research, and other co-curricular and extracurricular pursuits, Law Center 2, Faculty of Law, Delhi University is prestigious legal institution in the country. With a 50 years history of excellence, the center has the honor of having graduates from all sphere of lives. The alumni includes governor, central minister, state minister, senior bureaucrats, police officers, revenue officers, doctors, engineers, chartered accountants, company secretaries, politicians, etc. We have also formed an alumni association to provide all possible assistance to center, including internship and placements to our students. The former in charges of Law Center 2 have paved the way for the center to become one of the country's premier educational institutions imparting education to law aspirants. I am also working my level best to advance this center to greater heights so that the students choosing Law Center 2 receive an intellectually stimulating environment and are able to shape their future legal careers. To make Law Center 2 a center of excellence, this international conference under the supervision of Director of ELC, Dr. Aswini Shival, is a great advancement in said direction. I thank you. I thank you, all of you, and again welcome all of you on the behalf of Law Center 2 to have a great comprehensive ahead. Thank you again. Welcome all of you again and again. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mahavir Singh, for your words and giving us an insight into the Law Center 2 and Entrepreneurial Clinic. I would now like to welcome Professor Dr. Usha Tandon. She is the Dean and Head of the Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, and is a remarkable luminary in the legal sphere. She is a widely acclaimed professor of environmental law, population law, gender justice, and family law with teaching experience of more than 30 years. She has authored more than 50 research papers published in the reputed national and international journals, such as Transnational Environmental Law, Cambridge University Press, Coventry Law Journal, and Yonsei Law Journal, South Korea. Her book on population law in India is the only book of its kind which covers various population issues through the perspective of law and has been referred extensively in India and abroad. Dr. Usha Tandon, we now welcome you for your presidential address.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I'm audible. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am,
You are, ma'am.
You are audible.
All right. A very good afternoon and a very good morning as well to all of you. The professor in charge of Law Center 2, Professor Mahavir Singh, Mr. Saurabh Sachdeva, Director of IP Ethicon, Mr. Dheeraj Puri, Co-Chairman from ICC, Dr. Ashwini Siwal, Director of Entrepreneurial Clinic of Law Center 2, Faculty of Law, distinguished panelist from India and abroad, my colleague and dear students. Well, I'm extremely delighted to be a part of this conference, which is surely going to enhance at least my knowledge. This conference, which is on standard essential patents and fair, reasonable, and non discriminatory licensing. Just now, you have heard a small introduction of mine, and you must have found that nowhere there is any relation of whatever my profile is there with the IP laws. Yes, let me admit at the outset that I'm not a person from IP laws as far as my areas of research are concerned. And therefore, when Dr. Siwal approached me for this address, I was a little bit hesitant to give my consent. But then the success of any conference depends surely on the experts of the area, but it also needs a moral spot. So, as the head and dean of this great institute, Faculty of Law, Delhi University, I'm here more to give my best wishes for the success of this conference rather than sharing my views on any one of the technical areas. Uh, I have the opportunity to hear, uh, at least two predecessors speaking on the conference, and hearing them, and in my discussions with the director of this conference, I'm made to understand that this standard essential patents are a category of patents which protects a technology. So it's more technology related, or it can be, we can say it's an invention which in turn is essential to a standard. Now, the word standard for a person in the common parlance may have something, but for the IP people, it may have very many dimensions, multitude of dimensions. Again, I understand it. I was made to understand it with certain example, like there is a builder who doesn't make the bricks on its own, rather purchase it from the markets, and in the same particular manner, the technological building blocks are there for any product, and these technological building blocks are the ones that are often afforded protection, whatever we are discussing, by SEPs. Now, I'm told that this concept of SCP is still at this stage of evolution globally, not only here in India. And as far as India is concerned, you must be knowing better than me that of 2011, when this Ericsson case has happened, and this is said to be the first litigation in Indian IP uh, history. I'm told that there are no specific provisions to deal with this SCP, and as well as there are no set procedures And therefore, in the opening remarks, I have heard one of the speakers saying that therefore it is very essential that whatever global standards have been set therein, uh, there is scope at least for the India to contribute for that. So I think if it has not developed, whatever the concept or the literature or the jurisprudence or SEP is not well developed and is at the stage of development, rather evolution, and the importance of the conference like this really assume much more importance. And I'm sure that the eminent panelists from India as well as from abroad, with their great academic and professional credentials, who are going to enlighten in the technical sessions, um, will really enrich my students with that requisite understanding which is required for the nuances, whatever this evolving concept of SCP is there. And surely, this discourse, which is going to take place in the technical sessions, will benefit anyone who's keen to understand the commercial aspects of IP laws, and especially the students. Why? Because all these things, our primary recipients happen to be the students. And IP law in Delhi University law faculty is a very popular subject, and many of the students look forward to build their career in this particular area also. And I'm sure at least those aspirants will be greatly benefited from these discourses. So, with these words, I wind up my address by wishing a great success to this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tandon, for your kind words, and it is really encouraging to have you here today with us. Thank you so much. And now, from the organizers committee side, we have the representative of Indian Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Dheeraj Puri, with us. So he would be giving his remarks. He's the co-chairman, Indian Chamber of Commerce, Northern Regional Council. Mr. Dheeraj Puri, we welcome you to give your remarks, please. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, thank you. Greetings to your lordship and other dignitaries. Thank you for having me here. ICC, over the span of 100 years, has been facilitating and enhancing the business environment in India. Through various initiatives and seminars, ICC has helped Indian businesses bloom in India as well as help the Indian business grow global. ICC has recently launched a facilitation desk for assisting business work internationally with different companies. ICC is very active in the IPR segment. We work closely with the IP office and conduct series of programs across the length and breadth of northern India. We also have an IP facilitation center in our Guwahati office. We have 4 zonal and 1 national legal committee which works on IPR. ICC also has a council for facilitating and providing ADR services. It conducts arbitration, conciliation proceedings for commercial disputes between international companies. ICC aims at facilitating scaling businesses and making them more profitable by removing all infrastructural, informational, and legal roadblocks. Hence, ICC understands that IPR is an indispensable factor for economic growth. It is well understood that by the use of IPR, economic benefits are enjoyed by both the inventor, the creator, as well as the licensee. ICC recently hosted the IPR Summit in June 2019, where there was a discussion on key factors of IPR. The summit was attended by speakers for DPIIT, CBIC, Intellectual Property Office, and other industry experts from legal as well as the business fraternity. Address key issues like IPR protection, IPR ownership, its effective management. Issues related to IPR infringements as well. The summit also held a discussion on India's current IPR policy with the Indian government. We would like to glance over India's IPR filings. Since 2015, India has witnessed a steady growth in IPR filings. In a recent update from the Ministry of Commerce, India witnessed domestic patent filings outnumber international patent filings in the last fiscal quarter of Jan to March 2022. According to it, there is a 5-fold increase in the number of patent grants from 2015 to 2021-22. According to the statistics, there's an exponential growth in India's patent and trademark count since the year 2018. The state of Maharashtra, Kerala, and Karnataka have pioneered in providing startup infrastructure. These states have received patent filings mostly in the tech sector, with educational institutions also contributing considerably. Therefore, at ICC, we constantly try to help businesses grow by adopting an integrating approach involving all stakeholders. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Puri, for your insights and inputs. May I now request the speakers of the inaugural session to switch on their videos. So we would want to take a picture of the inaugural session speakers, please. Request all of you to please switch on your videos. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. Now, before I move on to the next session on introduction to SEPs and Frand licensing, I would just like to announce a few housekeeping rules for today's conference so that we have a very smooth conference without any glitches. Request all the attendees to kindly keep their cameras off at all the times and be muted. This is there to ensure that the sessions flow smoothly and without any background noises. The speakers and panelists have been assigned rights to unmute and switch on their videos, which they may do during their respective sessions. I would also request the respective session chairs and the speakers to kindly adhere to the timings. Each session is of an hour's time, followed by a 15-minute Q&A session, and finally followed by the closing remarks from the session chair. Just to ensure that we do not overshoot the time limits, I shall switch on my video and wave a hand when 5 minutes are left for the session to be over. This will be an indication for the session chair that the particular session is coming to an end.